If I go to Canada in 2021, when God's plan was for me to be there 2025, I may be in the place God wants me to be, but I'm not there at the right time. So now I'm in the acceptable will of God, but I'm not in the perfect will of God. There is a good will of God. Then he says there is the acceptable will of God, and there is the perfect will of God. What's the difference? The good will of God is God's general will for every person. But the acceptable will of God is based on God's specific plan for your life. So the good will of God is God's general plan for everybody. It applies to everybody. The acceptable will of God is knowing God's plan that affects your life. God's plan for your life. The perfect will of God is knowing God's timing of the plan. When you understand this, you don't just do things because you can do it. You don't walk because you have legs. You don't buy because you can afford. And you don't refuse to do because you cannot. Because you are not the strength. He is your strength. So you don't say, I cannot afford it, so I'm not buying it. No, God says, get up, go and buy a house. I cannot afford it, shut up, buy a house. But I cannot shut up, buy a house. Our sufficiency is of God. When you get to that level, you begin to wait on the Lord because your strength is from Him. You want to know what is your plan.
Yes, sir.
So how many of you are living in the wrong place, driving the wrong cars, living in the wrong country, working with the wrong people, working in the wrong places because you don't care about that? You are the boss of your life. You are in the good will of God.